Sarah Mitchell never believed in ghosts. She was a trauma nurse from Chicago, a woman of science, logic, and 12-hour shifts that left no room for superstition. So when she inherited her grandmother's farmhouse in rural Indiana, she saw only opportunity, a fresh start after her divorce, a quiet place to heal. The house had been empty for 3 years since Grandma Ruth passed. Sarah's mother refused to step foot inside, mumbling something about bad memories and things best left alone. Sarah dismissed it as family drama. Every family had secrets. She arrived on a Friday evening in late October. The farmhouse stood at the end of a gravel road, surrounded by barren cornfields that stretched toward the horizon like a brown ocean. The setting sun painted the sky in shades of blood orange. The front door stuck. Sarah had to shoulder it open, and when she did, the smell hit her. Not decay exactly, but something older, like air that had been breathed too many times. Just needs airing out, she told herself. The first night was uneventful. Sarah set up an air mattress in the living room, too exhausted from the drive to explore. She fell asleep to the sound of the old house settling, its wooden bones creaking in the autumn wind. She woke at 3:17 a.m. The room was cold, impossibly cold for a house with working heat. Her breath fogged in the moonlight streaming through the windows. And there, standing in the doorway to the kitchen, was the silhouette of a child. Sarah's heart hammered. Hello? The figure didn't move, didn't breathe. It simply stood there, watching. Sarah fumbled for her phone, turned on the flashlight. Nothing. The doorway was empty. Get it together, she whispered. You're tired. You're stressed. This is not real. But sleep didn't come again that night. Over the following week, Sarah tried to rationalize everything. The cold spots were poor insulation. The footsteps she heard upstairs were squirrels in the attic. The whispers that seemed to follow her from room to room were just the wind finding gaps in century-old walls. She kept finding small handprints on the windows, always on the inside, always at a child's height. She'd clean them, they'd return. On the 8th night, Sarah discovered the basement. The door was in the pantry, hidden behind a shelf of dusty mason jars. She'd moved the shelf looking for a circuit breaker and found a padlocked door with deep scratches gouged into the wood, scratches that looked like they'd been made from the inside. What the hell, Grandma? The next morning, Sarah drove to town and bought bolt cutters. Part of her screamed to leave it alone, to sell the house and never look back. But that logical part of her brain, the part that had held dying patients' hands while remaining calm, the part that had survived a cheating husband and custody battles, that part needed answers. The lock gave way with a rusty snap. The basement stairs descended into darkness so complete her flashlight seemed to struggle against it. The air was different down here, heavy, thick, almost resistant. Each step creaked like a warning. At the bottom, she found a room. Concrete walls, a dirt floor, and in the corner, a small bed frame with leather restraints attached to the posts. Sarah's blood turned to ice. On the wall above the bed, someone had carved words into the concrete with what looked like a knife. Mama says I'm wrong. Mama says I'm evil. Mama says I have to stay. Next to the bed was a small wooden box. Sarah opened it with trembling hands and found photographs, old Polaroids from the 1970s, a little girl with dark hair and hollow eyes. The same girl, older, thinner, her wrists wrapped in bandages. The same girl standing in a doorway, staring at the camera with an expression that wasn't quite human. On the back of the last photo, in her grandmother's handwriting, Margaret, born wrong, died wrong, may God forgive me. Sarah ran. She made it to the living room before the lights went out. Not just the lights, everything. Her phone, the flashlight, even the moonlight seemed to fade as if something was drinking the light itself. and in the darkness, she heard breathing. It was behind her, close, too close. "You found me." The voice was a child's, but wrong, layered, like multiple voices speaking in unison from a throat that had forgotten how to make sound. Sarah couldn't move, couldn't run. Her legs had turned to stone. "Mama kept me in the dark," the voice continued. 40 years in the dark. Do you know what the dark does to you? Do you know what you become?" Something cold touched her shoulder. She felt small fingers, too many fingers, wrap around her arm. "I don't want to be alone anymore." Sarah did the only thing she could think of. She stopped fighting. "I know," Sarah said, her voice shaking. "I know what she did to you was wrong. I know you were just a child." The grip loosened slightly. "She said I was evil." "You weren't evil." Sarah forced herself to turn. In the darkness, she could barely make out a shape, small, hunched, broken in ways that had nothing to do with physics. "You were sick, and she didn't know how to help you, so she did something unforgivable. She left me here. When she died, she left me here." "I know," Sarah was crying now, "and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Margaret." The darkness began to recede. The small figure before her was becoming clearer, a little girl, maybe 8 or 9, with dark hair and sad eyes. Not a monster, not a demon, just a child who had been abandoned in the worst possible way. "No one comes," Margaret whispered. "No one remembers." "I'll remember," Sarah said. "I'll tell people what happened to you. I'll make sure you're not forgotten." Margaret looked at her for a long moment, and slowly she began to fade. The room grew lighter, warmer. "Promise?" "I promise." And then she was gone. Sarah kept her promise. She contacted historians, investigators, journalists. The story made national news. The hidden room, the photographs, the dark secret of a family that had imprisoned a mentally ill child rather than face the stigma of the 1970s. Margaret's remains were found buried behind the barn. She was given a proper funeral, a headstone with her name, and finally, peace. Sarah sold the farmhouse that winter. She couldn't stay, not after everything. But before she left, she stood in the empty living room one last time. The air was warm, light streamed through clean windows, and in the dust on the floor, there was a single handprint. Not frantic, not desperate, but gentle, almost like a wave goodbye. My name's Marcus Thompson, and I delivered pizzas for Sal's Pizzeria in Dayton, Ohio for 3 years. I thought I'd seen everything. Drunk college kids, creepy loners, people answering doors in weird costumes. Nothing fazed me anymore. Until the night of November 14th. I was working the closing shift, just me and Ricky in the kitchen. It was a slow Tuesday, rain coming down in sheets, the kind of night where smart people stayed home and ordered food instead of going out. At 11:47 p.m., 13 minutes before close, the phone rang. Ricky answered, scribbled down the order, and hung up with a weird look on his face. "What?" I asked. "Dude says he wants 2 large pepperonis delivered to 445 Crane Road." I felt my stomach drop. Crane Road? There's nothing out there. That road's been closed for like 10 years. "I know," Ricky shrugged, "but the guy paid already. Card went through. Said to leave it on the porch if no one answers." I should have refused. Should have told Ricky to refund the money and forget it. But I needed the tip money. Child support was due, rent was late, and my car needed new brakes. $45 for a delivery. That's what the receipt said. Probably some kids partying in one of those abandoned houses, I reasoned. Ricky just looked at me. "Be careful out there, man." Crane Road used to be a nice neighborhood back in the 90s. Then the factory closed, jobs disappeared, and people moved away. Now it was just empty houses slowly being swallowed by Ohio wilderness. My headlights cut through the rain as I drove past the faded "Road Closed" sign. The street was cracked and buckled, weeds pushing through the asphalt like fingers reaching up from underground. Most of the houses were dark, windows broken, roofs caved in, the kind of places teenagers dared each other to explore. I counted mailboxes until I found 445. The house was wrong. I don't know how else to describe it. Every other building on that street was falling apart, but this one looked perfect. Fresh paint, clean windows, a porch light glowing warm and yellow through the rain. And in the driveway sat a 1987 Ford pickup truck, cherry red, mint condition. I parked on the street and grabbed the pizza bag. The rain soaked through my Sal's Pizzeria jacket as I walked up the driveway. My sneakers squelched on the wet pavement. The porch steps didn't creak. The doorbell worked. I waited. Footsteps inside. Slow. Heavy. The door opened. A man stood there, maybe 60 years old, wearing a flannel shirt and jeans. He smiled at me with too many teeth. "Oh, good, you found us." "2 large pepperonis?" My voice came out higher than I wanted. "That's right. Come in, You're soaking wet." "I'm fine, sir. Just need a signature and—" "Please." His hand shot out and grabbed my wrist. His skin was cold, wrong cold, like touching meat from a freezer. "My wife would never forgive me if I let you stand out in this weather." Before I could pull away, he yanked me inside. The house was warm, too warm, like standing next to an open oven. And the smell, at first I thought it was the pizza, but it was something else, something sweet and rotten underneath. "Honey, the pizza's here." A woman appeared from the kitchen, same age as him, wearing a floral dress that looked like it came from a 1980s catalog. She was smiling too, same too many teeth smile. "Oh, wonderful," she said. "And you brought the delivery boy. How nice." I noticed something then. On the mantel above the fireplace, there were photographs, old photographs, black and white, faded color, decades of family pictures. But every single one had the faces scratched out. Every single one. "I should go," I said. "Just sign here and—" "Nonsense." The man was behind me now. When did he move? "We so rarely have visitors. Everyone left, you know. Everyone went away, but we stayed." "We always stay," the woman added. I tried to step toward the door, but my legs wouldn't cooperate. It was like moving through invisible mud. "We had a son," the woman continued. "Tommy. He was about your age when it happened." "When what happened?" They exchanged a look. Something passed between them. Not love, not grief, but something hungry. "The fire," the man said. "November 14th, 1987. Faulty wiring in the basement. The whole neighborhood went up." My blood froze. 37 people died that night, including us, the woman whispered. "Including us." The walls began to change. The fresh paint bubbled and blackened. The clean windows cracked and filled with smoke. The warm air turned hot, burning hot, and I could smell it now, the truth underneath the illusion. Ash, smoke, burned flesh. They were still smiling at me, but their faces were changing too, skin peeling, eyes melting, teeth exposed through lipless mouths. "Tommy was delivering pizzas that night," the man said, his voice now a crackling hiss, "coming home from his shift. When he got here, everything was already gone. His mother, his father, his whole life. He couldn't handle it," the woman added, "so he stayed. We all stayed, waiting." For what? I could barely get the words out. The heat was unbearable. My skin felt like it was starting to blister. "For him to come home." The front door opened behind me. I turned. A young man stood there, early 20s, wearing a Sal's Pizzeria jacket, the old design from decades ago. He had my face. Not similar to my face, my face. I've been driving for so long, going in circles, delivering orders that never existed. I couldn't find my way home. Tommy! The woman reached past me. Oh, Tommy! Mom, Dad! They embraced this thing with my face, and as they did, the burning stopped. The house began to repair itself. The photographs on the mantel filled in, showing a family, a happy family together, including the young man, Tommy, who still had my face. "You can go now," Tommy said, looking at me. "I just needed someone to show me the way back." I didn't understand. I didn't want to understand. I ran. I drove 90 miles an hour back to town, rain blinding me, hands shaking so bad I could barely grip the wheel. When I got to Sal's, I burst through the door. Ricky was mopping the floor. "Dude, you okay? You look like you saw a ghost." "The order," I gasped. 445 Crane Road. Who called it in?" Ricky stared at me. "What are you talking about? We didn't get any deliveries after 10. You went home early, remember? Said you weren't feeling well." "That's not... I was just..." I checked my phone. 10:15 p.m. I'd been driving for almost 2 hours, but my phone said only 20 minutes had passed. The pizza bag was still in my car. I checked it. Empty. 2 boxes, still warm. But burned on the inside of one box, in letters formed by scorch marks, was a message. "Thank you for bringing him home." I quit the next day. I tried to research what happened, the fire, the neighborhood, Tommy. I found old newspaper articles from November 1987. A gas leak had caused an explosion on Crane Road. 42 people died that night, including Thomas and Ruth Brennan. Their son was listed among the victims. His name was Marcus Thompson Brennan. He was a pizza delivery driver. He was 23 years old, my age. I don't understand what happened that night. Was I Tommy? Some kind of reincarnation? Or just a stranger who happened to look like a dead man's son? I don't know. But sometimes, late at night, I dream of a house on Crane Road, a family waiting, a boy who couldn't find his way home, and I wake up with the smell of smoke in my lungs. The end. Some souls get lost between life and death. They wander, they search, they wait for someone to light the way, and sometimes they find their way home. I've been a 911 dispatcher for 14 years in Memphis, Tennessee. I've heard it all: domestic violence, overdoses, car accidents, suicides. I've listened to people take their last breaths. I've talked mothers through performing CPR on their own children. Nothing prepared me for the calls from apartment 4B. The first call came on a Wednesday night in March, 2:34 a.m. Quiet shift, just me and Denise working the phones. 911, what's your emergency? Static, heavy breathing, then a child's voice. The man is in my room again. My training kicked in. Okay, sweetie, can you tell me your name? Emma. Hi, Emma. How old are you? 7. You're being very brave, Emma. Can you tell me your address? Ridgemont Apartments, Building C, Apartment 4B. I typed it into the system while keeping her on the line. Is the man still there, Emma? He's standing by my closet. He doesn't have a face. The hair on my arm stood up. Kids say strange things when they're scared. I knew that. But something in her voice, so calm, so matter-of-fact, unsettled me. Okay, honey, I'm sending police right now. Can you hide somewhere safe? Under your bed or in a bathroom? I can't move when he's watching. Where are your parents, Emma? Long pause, more static. "They're sleeping. They always sleep through it." "Emma, stay with me. Help is coming. Can you—" The line went dead. I dispatched 2 units to Ridgemont Apartments, Martinez and Cooper. I stayed on the radio, waiting for their update. 12 minutes later, Martinez called in. "Dispatch, we're at the location. There's no apartment 4B. "Say again?" "Building C goes 4A, then 4C. There's a wall where 4B should be. We talked to the building manager. He says there's never been an apartment 4B. I stared at my screen. The address was right there. I'd typed it myself. "Copy that," I said. "Must have been a prank call." But I had the recording. I played it back. Static. Just static. No child's voice. No words at all. Just 7 minutes of empty air. The second call came 1 week later. Same time, 2:34 a.m. 911, what's your emergency? He's back. Same voice, same little girl, Emma. Emma? Honey, where are you calling from? Apartment 4B, I told you before. This time, I didn't dispatch anyone. I just listened. Emma, I sent police to help you last week. They couldn't find your apartment. They never can. What do you mean? I've called before. Lots of times. Different people answer. They try to help, but no one ever comes. My throat tightened. Emma, how long have you been calling, Emma? I don't know. A long time. It's always dark here now. It's always nighttime. Where are your parents? Sleeping. They won't wake up. I tried and tried, but they won't wake up. I made a decision then. Against protocol, against everything I'd been trained to do. Emma, I'm going to find you, I promise. Static swelled on the line, then her voice smaller than before. I can't. Nobody can. He won't let me leave. The line ended. I couldn't let it go. On my day off, I drove to Ridgemont Apartments, Building C. I walked to the 4th floor hallway myself. 4A, then a wall, then 4C, just like the officers said. But I noticed something they hadn't. The wall between 4A and 4C was newer than the others. Different paint, different texture, like it had been added later. I found the building manager, a heavy-set man named Gerald, who smelled like cigarettes and regret. I need to know about the wall on the 4th floor, I said, between 4A and 4C. Gerald's face changed. The color drained out of it like someone had pulled a plug. Lady, I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he sighed. You're not gonna let this go, are you? No. He led me to his office, pulled out a dusty file from the bottom drawer of his desk. Newspaper clippings, police reports, photographs. 23 years ago, he said, the Whitmore family, David, Susan, and their daughter Emma, lived in apartment 4B. My heart stopped. What happened to them? Gerald handed me a newspaper clipping. The headline read, Father kills family, self in murder-suicide. 7-year-old girl among victims. I read the article with shaking hands. David Whitmore had suffered a psychotic break. He'd killed his wife and daughter while they slept, then himself. The neighbors hadn't discovered the bodies for 3 days. The building owner sealed up the apartment afterward, Gerald said. Couldn't rent it. Nobody would take it. Said there were noises, voices, a little girl crying. So they just walled it off? Cheaper than tearing it down. Out of sight, out of mind. He paused. Every few years, someone reports something. Weird sounds, cold spots in 4A and 4C. But management tells us to keep quiet. I looked at the photograph of Emma Whitmore. Dark hair, big brown eyes, gap-toothed smile. 7 years old forever. I went back that night with a sledgehammer. I don't know what I was thinking. Maybe I wasn't thinking at all. I just knew that little girl had been calling for help for 23 years and no one had ever come. The building was quiet at 2 a.m. I wore dark clothes. I worked fast. The drywall came apart easier than I expected. Behind it was a door, apartment 4B, still there, still waiting. I pushed it open. The smell hit me first. Not decay, that would have faded decades ago. This was something else, something like burnt matches and old pennies and sorrow. My flashlight cut through the darkness. The apartment was frozen in time. Furniture from the 90s, a TV with rabbit ears, a child's drawings on the refrigerator, and everywhere, there was writing on the walls. He won't let us leave. Daddy isn't daddy anymore. Mama won't wake up. Please help. Someone, please. I don't want to be alone. Thousands of words, covering every surface, written in crayon, in marker, in something darker that I didn't want to identify. I walked down the hallway toward the bedrooms. My footsteps echoed strangely, like the sound was being swallowed. The master bedroom door was open. 2 shapes on the bed, covered in sheets that had long since rotted to gray tatters. I didn't look closely. I couldn't. The second bedroom was at the end of the hall. Pink door, a faded sticker of a cartoon princess. I pushed it open. A little girl sat on the bed. She was wearing pajamas with unicorns on them. Her dark hair hung in tangles around her face. She was looking at the closet door, which stood open, revealing nothing but darkness inside. "Emma?" She turned to me. Her face was pale, too pale, and her eyes were wrong, solid black, like someone had filled them with ink. But when she spoke, her voice was the same voice I'd heard on those calls. "You came." "I came." "He's angry," she whispered. "He's angry that you're here." The temperature dropped. My breath came out in clouds. The shadows in the room began to move, pooling, gathering, forming a shape by the closet. Tall, wrong proportions, arms too long, no face, just smooth darkness where features should be. I understood then. This wasn't David Whitmore. This was something else, something that had gotten into him, something that had used him to trap his family here, and it had been feeding on them ever since. "Emma," I said, forcing myself to stay calm, "I need you to come with me." "I can't. He won't let me." The shadow moved closer. I felt its presence like ice water pouring into my skull. "Yes, you can." I held out my hand. "You called for help. I answered. Now you have to choose to come with me." "I'm scared." "I know, baby. I know you're scared. But you've been so brave for so long. Just a little bit more. Just take my hand." The shadow lunged, but Emma was faster. Her small, cold hand gripped mine, and I ran. I ran down that hallway, past the bedroom where her parents still lay, through the living room covered in desperate messages, and out the door of apartment 4B. Behind us, something screamed, not a human sound, a sound like reality tearing at the seams. I didn't stop running until we were outside, standing in the parking lot under the yellow glow of streetlights. Emma looked at her hands. They were becoming transparent. "What's happening to me?" "You're leaving," I said, tears streaming down my face. "You're finally leaving." She looked up at me. Her eyes were normal now, brown and big and full of wonder. "Where am I going?" "Somewhere better, somewhere safe. Your mom's waiting for you." "Mama?" "Yeah, baby. Mama woke up. She's been waiting for you." Emma smiled. the first genuine smile she'd had in 23 years. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for coming." And then she was gone. Just gone, like morning mist under a warm sun. I stood there for a long time, crying in an empty parking lot. The next morning, the building manager found the hole in the wall. The police were called. The apartment was finally opened, officially this time. They found the remains of the Whitmore family. They were given proper burials. The story made local news. But that's not the part that stuck with me. When the forensic team went through the apartment, they found one last message, not written on the walls like the others. This one was written in the dust on Emma's bedroom floor. Fresh, recent. It said, "Thank you for answering." I still work dispatch. I still take calls at 2 a.m., but I've never heard from apartment 4B again. Sometimes, late at night, when the phones are quiet, I think about Emma. I think about how long she waited, how many times she called, how many dispatchers heard her voice and couldn't help. She just needed someone to believe her. She just needed someone to show up. Every year, thousands of 911 calls go unanswered, wrong addresses, disconnected lines, prank calls that get ignored. But every now and then, a call comes from somewhere that doesn't exist anymore, somewhere between life and death, somewhere desperate for help. If you answer, will you believe what you hear?